All right, so we are going to be learning how to draw in 1-point perspective this lesson. Okay, when we're drawing in perspective, there's a few rules that we need to learn as well as some vocabulary. Okay, so to begin with, hopefully we all know what this is, a vertical line across our page is called the horizon. So think about when you are looking off into the distance, for example, if you're at the beach, the horizon is where the earth appears to meet the sky. Now obviously it's not a real line, it's an imaginary line, it's an invisible line, but we need the horizon line because that is essentially the last thing that we actually see. All right, so in perspective, we have a horizon line and we also have a point on the horizon line called a vanishing point. So today what we're going to do is do 1-point perspective, so I can hope that you would assume that means that there's only one vanishing point. And the first rule of 1-point perspective is that all lines go back to this point. So let's try a simple shape. Let's try a square. So using my ruler, obviously, I'm going to draw a nice beautiful square or rectangle. Now we're going to call this the face of the shape. This is the part that is facing us. Okay? And we need to connect each corner of the shape to the vanishing point to make it look 3D. So I'll line my pencil up with the corner, with the vanishing point, and I'm going to draw a very light line connecting that. Okay? So I'll do that with each corner. There we go. Now these lines are called construction lines. They're the lines that produce or construct the three-dimensional aspect of the shape. Now this one's a little bit off, but instead of redrawing it again, just bear with me. Now I didn't draw a line to this inside corner, and I want you to think about why. You could think about that while I fix this line, because if I were being assessed on this, I would not be getting 3 stars, that's for sure. Whoops. So, I'm trying to do this drawing around a tripod, and I'm trying my best here. So let's try again. Corner, vanishing point, connect. Beautiful. So, the reason that I didn't draw a line to this corner is because if I had, it would have cut through the face of the shape. Now this could be good actually. Maybe you want this in a situation where you want to draw a shape that's clear or transparent. You can see the inside of the shape. But for the purposes of my drawing today, I'm going to leave that. Please excuse Miss Elaine, has a little bit of a cold. So I've got my lines from the corners of the face of the shape to the vanishing point. So now you can see it looks 3-dimensional, but there's only just one thing that's missing, and that's the fact that currently my square goes off into infinity. But I want it to be a freestanding shape, so what I have to do is cut the shape off with lines that show the sides. All right? So that's where the next rule of perspective comes in, where all of these lines need to be parallel. Okay? So I have this line here. I want to draw a parallel line to this somewhere along this. Now I'm going to line my ruler up with the line and drag it along until I'm happy. There we go. you really want to try to keep your ruler at the same angle so that your line is parallel. See? Parallel, parallel. You don't have to draw those ticks, that's just for the demonstration. Same thing here with this top one. So I'm lining it up with the corner and I'm dragging my ruler along the shape, trying not to hit my tripod. Hopefully this is parallel. So do you see how I dragged it until it met the corner here? Voila, look at that. Parallel, parallel. Now I can erase the part of the construction lines I don't need anymore. This is why we have to draw very lightly. And we're done. Okay? Let's try a more complicated shape. So I'm going to make the letter L. You see how I'm using the lines on my ruler to help me measure out the L. Nice and evenly. Clean it up a little bit. So let's review the rules of perspective. Number one, always use a ruler. Check. Number two, all lines go back to the vanishing point. I'm just going to write VP. All right, so all lines go back to the vanishing point. So from every single corner, I need to connect to the vanishing point. Corner, corner. Very lightly, obviously. Corner. This corner. Do I need to draw a line from this corner to the vanishing point? What happens if I do? Well, you can very lightly try and realize, oh, that's going through the face of the shape. So perhaps we need to write an exception. Except when going through the face of the shape. Again, this is only if your shape is opaque, which means you can't see through it. So, how about this line? Definitely. Now, here's an interesting one. I'm going to line it up to my vanishing point, and from the corner I'm going to draw, but now I'm hitting the face of the shape. Does it make sense to go through it or to stop? So if I remove my ruler, I can see that if I continued, it would have cut through the face of the shape. But this part of the line is behind the face of the shape, which means I don't need to draw the rest. I'm just going to have to erase it later anyway. Last corner, again, this one automatically, I know I don't have to draw because it goes to the face of the shape. Okay? So that takes us to our last rule. All lines are parallel. Had a weird moment there, I forgot to spell parallel. So, I'm going to cut off my shape from here first. Let's make a really long L. That'll be interesting. I'm going to cut off from the top. And can you see where I need to cut it off again? Good, I need to probably cut it off here somewhere. So let's cut it off there and just see if that makes sense. So we'll erase everything we don't need anymore. And there you go. Now this looks a bit wonky, but just trust the system and trust that your technique is correct. And that is correct. All right? Now, what I want you to do is try to do your own basic shapes in 1-point perspective. So can you do a cube? Can you try something a bit more difficult, like an L or a triangle? Can you try a shape that has a hole cut out of it? If you can figure that out, I'll give you a house point. Let me know if you have any questions.